metformin, and can you use it to help with your weight? That is what we're going to talk about today. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Meghan. I am a board certified physician in internal medicine, lifestyle medicine, and obesity medicine. And this is really important because I actually prescribe these medications all the time. I actually talk to patients about their weight all the time. I've helped hundreds of patients lose weight, and I'm here to help you too. So if you're confused about your weight, if you have questions about weight medicine, and if you want medically based answers to your weight questions, you are in the right place. So let's get started. So what is metformin? You've probably heard a lot about it. There's a lot of chatter about metformin on social media and in the news about weight, longevity, all that kind of stuff. So what is it, and can you use it for help with weight? The short answer is yes, you can use it for help with weight. Metformin is a widely prescribed medication for diabetes. And how it works primarily is it decreases the liver's ability to break down stored sugar in the liver and release it into the bloodstream. So it decreases what we call hepatic gluconeogenesis, which is just a fancy word for taking all the stored sugar that's in the liver and breaking some of it down to make sugar like glucose widely available in the bloodstream. So it limits the liver's ability to do that. So it decreases the amount of sugar in the bloodstream essentially. And then when you do that, it also increases the it helps with insulin sensitivity in tissues, and it also decreases the absorption of glucose in the GI tract. So it does a lot, but primarily that is how it works to help regulate the balance of glucose in the body. And it's widely prescribed, it's generic, and we use it all the time for people who have diabetes. But can you use it for weight? Yes, you can. It is off-label, so it is not an FDA-approved use, but it is actually used quite commonly in a couple different situations. So I will say overall, like metformin is not my go-to for weight loss. It's not as reliable as some of the other medications, and the weight loss that it helps with is not as profound. And so this is why it likely has not been approved for weight loss, because it's not a sure thing in the way that some of these other medications are. And the actual weight loss that it helps with is pretty minimal if you're comparing it to something like Zepbound, which you can get, an average of 20% total body weight loss on Zepbound. With metformin, it's more like 2 to 5%, like around 3% total body weight loss is what I am generally expecting on metformin. So it's definitely not my first go-to, but it can be helpful in a couple different situations. So number one, before the GLP-1 agonists came along, metformin was used a lot for helping prevent or decrease the effect of medication-associated weight gain. So for example, if a psychiatrist had a patient and they needed to put them on something that was very like an antipsychotic that was very weight promoting, they may also choose to prescribe metformin at the same time to limit the amount of medication-induced weight gain that was happening. Or if they'd already started that medication, they might choose to prescribe metformin to kind of help decrease their BMI while they were taking these medications, because there are some medications that are extremely weight promoting, and metformin would help kind of limit the effect of that. It's also a good medication for, for use as an add-on agent. So let's say somebody is taking Zepbound and they've lost, they've kind of plateaued at around 20% body weight, but their BMI isn't quite where your physician and they are looking to get it to. You could think about adding on metformin in that situation to kind of see if their BMI comes down a couple more points. But again, not really expecting a drastic effect like you would with some of these other medications. And the last situation that I'll usually think about it is if people can't take anything else. So I definitely have patients where they have contraindications for a GLP-1 medication. They really can't take, they can't take phentermine, they can't take topiramate, they can't take anything else, or their options are pretty limited, or maybe they're on phentermine and I want to kind of augment that, but really what's available to them is not a lot because of their background medical issues. So then it can be a helpful other agent to add on. And the nice thing about metformin is that it is generic, so you don't have to kind of, even if their insurance won't cover it, which usually they will, but even if their insurance doesn't cover it, it's not going to be a significant out-of-pocket cost for the patient. So that's always a nice thing to keep in mind as well. So those are the situations where I will use metformin. And just a general background of how exactly does it impact weight. It's multifactorial, but it helps with appetite suppression in the brain and also kind of in the GI tract because it can induce some nausea. So people just feel like their appetite isn't quite as strong. It does help with the secretion of a couple peptides from the gastrointestinal tract. So GLP-1, PYY, those can be augmented by metformin. It will increase the brain sensitivity to certain weight hormones like leptin, and it can help with the regulation of energy storage and metabolism in the brain. So how your brain sets your energy storage and energy, like fat burning and fat storage, that those levels in the brain, it can kind of help with that. Less glucose in the bloodstream means there's going to be less insulin. Insulin is a very weight promoting medication. So when you have less glucose, you're going to have less circulating insulin. And then it does seem to slightly alter the GI microbiome as well, and that can have some beneficial effects in terms of energy regulation too. So it works in a lot of different ways on the brain, on the GI tract, but it doesn't work extremely potently, at least in terms of a weight loss effect. So now there are some contraindications, and I'm going to make another video about metformin side effects specifically, so you can definitely check that out. There are some people that shouldn't take metformin for whom metformin is contraindicated. So if someone had a very decreased kidney function, probably wouldn't be a good fit. And if they had GI problems already, so if I had a patient who had a lot of nausea or vomiting or reflux or diarrhea, probably not a good fit for metformin either. But anyway, if you think metformin might be something that could help you, definitely talk to your physician. You know, everybody's different. So it's definitely going to be a good fit for some people, not a good fit for everybody. But that's the deal with metformin. So let me know if you have questions. I always love listening to your questions. I love answering your questions, and I do an office hours once a week with your questions. So feel free to leave any questions down below. All my references will be listed down below as well. If you want to work with me directly, I do work with people one-on-one. So I'll leave that info down below. Thank you so much for watching, and please be well.